Hola a todos. Hello to everyone. We are Álvaro Mercado and Daniela Salgado Cofré, and we will share with you our contribution that we titled Going to the Clay, Exploring Conflicts and Values of the Soil in Valparaiso. This contribution presents a design and artistic research focused on the soil that aims to generate active and poetic forms of reflection around the fragile interdependence of human and non-human lives in an increasingly precarious urban environment, emphasized by the current ecological crisis, particularly in the region of Valparaiso in Chile. In order to engage in such reflections, this practice oriented research is led by an interdisciplinary group composed by Álvaro, who is an architect, the ceramic artist Rocío Mercado, the interaction artist Matías Vallejo, and me, who am a designer, and open to other people that share interest on reflecting on our relationship with the soil. So, through this project, we aim to collect relational modes of material interdependence in the region of Valparaiso by exploring veins and clay pits for pottery making that are relevant and known by artists and artisans of this area, and that are strongly impacted by the urban environment.
These spaces are treated by the increasingly precarious environmental conditions that are exacerbated by the monoculture of the land and the reconstitution of the soil by massive urbanization projects. This is a problematic of great interest for me since I studied the impact of the contemporary urbanization process beyond the city or in diffuse spaces where informality and real estate speculations are mixed with the industrialization of agriculture for exportation as the monoculture of avocados, grapes, and eucalyptus in the region of Valparaiso. So the image on the slide illustrates these problematics. On the left, we see the map of the region of Valparaiso, where we locate some places of conflicts that are marked in white. So in the north, we have the sacrifice zone in the area of Quintero and Puchuncaví. In the center, we have the real estate speculations and the big towers built next to the coastline as vacation housing in Concon, and in the south we have the precarious urbanization of the periphery of Valparaiso.
In parallel to these urban conflicts that Álvaro mentioned, the places of material collection are also threatened by the inaccessibility to some clay pits due to the replacement of the commons by the privatization and exploitation of the land. The situation was also observed during my fieldwork in the community of pottery makers of Omaire in Chile, which is not in Valparaiso but it can be related somehow, where I could follow some conflicts about the recollection of clay and the uses of the soil. The artisans of this community were no longer able to collect clay from the ancient sites that are urbanized today, so they found new clay pits in private grounds farther and farther from the village. This led to the centralization of the collection process and also to some sort of dependency on their negotiation with the different landlords.
Therefore, we can state that this urban conflict generates deteriorations that contrast with the significant relevance and values that these spaces hold for artists, artisans, and other groups that promote their protection and the respectful interaction with the soil. This is an aspect in which Rocio and Matias are very engaged since they have been performing some artistic intervention exploring these problematics and taking active part on them, for example, through the formation of the feminist collective of ceramists called Atavica and other artistic projects. Besides, it's important to signal that these conflicts are very relevant for some part of the community of the region where there have been a significant turns toward demanding ecological changes, where many civil society organizations that you can see on the slide have been conformed to protect the land and generate socio-ecological changes. So against this background, this practice-oriented research explore and expect to make visible the transformation of these lands by following the uses of the soil, identifying conflicts but also values that emerge around these extraction sites. This is performed through immersive sensitive experiences that we entitle Going to the Clay, or in Spanish, Días a la Greda, immersive practices that emerge easily and intuitively by many of the artists and artisans, and that we wanted to entangle or intersect with the problematics already mentioned. So in the slide, you can see the different places for clay collection pointed in the map in yellow, where we made these immersions. So we decide to go to these places that are located in the coastline and in the hinterland because they are places in conflict. We in these places we can identify the protection of these places because of the environmental richness, but also conflict of exploitation and intervention.
So, as we said before, we aim to explore the current state of and transformation of these lands by going to a clay. So the immersion experiences performed in the different sites consisted on walking to the clay pits, trying to find the clay pits, observing the ground and the veins of the soil, sensing the material and the environment through other senses than just sight, collecting clay from the soil together, and exploring the conditions and the properties of the soil. We perform diverse steps encompassing the going to the clay that can be synthesized as first, collectively finding and recognizing the clay veins in the territory. Secondly, exploring properties of the soil or clays for artistic creation. And as you can see in these images, there were group experiences with people of different ages and backgrounds. We did not use a scientific methodology for this immersion. However, we can see that some tools were repeatedly used during the immersions in order to register and also analyze. Besides, we see the importance and the relevance of the bodies to explore the different sites. Another aspect that we explored were the relations between non-humans in the territory. As you can see in these videos, even if the main intention was to go to a clay, the relations between non-humans and their interdependence in the ecosystem was very present and always appeared to us as something that we could reflect on. This also happened after the immersions. For instance, the video on the left show a small amount of clay in which life emerged long after its recollection. On the other side, we explore the relationship between humans and non-humans in the territory. While this relationality can be positive, we chose to display for you today images that illustrate some conflicts. For example, we see a backhoe scratching the land where we could find a clay pit. The soil that is taken away is perceived as waste. We also have a non-trespassing sign of private property that we encounter when trying to access a clay pit. And we see the rise of huge buildings representing the real estate speculation that are surrounding the ravine with clay near the park of Reñaca.
Also, we want to share some immersive maps. So this slide shows some of them. In the upper part, we have two maps, which are a sort of intersection between topographic memory and the extraction epicenters. And the big map is about the geography of the region of Valparaiso, with the Pacific Ocean on the left and Los Andes Mountain on the right. And in between them, we have the cities, the field, the hills, and also we can see the clay pits that were encountered during the immersions.
This is a poem and a drawing generated in one of the immersions that translated to English would be something like this. Little grain of sand that grows, pain falls into the sea. Waters clean hard. Droughts abound in the basin. Stars in the distant ocean slowly float. Sensitive textures, reflections of the sky. After the experiences developed, we have other post-immersion exploratory process. These stages consist on working with clay collected from the visited sites, preparing this material, modeling and burying objects that were produced during and after the immersions. These are images of a moment of dialogue and experimentation during the post-immersion in which artists, artisans, and other people are learning from the soil and preparing the clay. And these are images of the burn using a gas kiln in the gallery space. And these are also images of burning pots in the soil, but in situ. This is what we call a quema en hoyo. All the objects have different designs. They are utilitarian, decorative, or they replicate archaeological pieces. Thus, it is fundamental for us to see also the diversity of the repertory of shapes that somehow distinguish the different material engagement between people and clay. Through these experiences of going to the clay that will continue, we expect to trace other relational ways of inhabiting, valuing, and also working with soil. The next stage of the project considers the opening of an exhibition or workshop space of co-creation around clay in warm and independent art space in Valparaiso. And this exhibition has been conceived as a place of creation, research, and artistic exploration of a collective and cumulative nature, as it will integrate month by month after the Idas Alagredas, new creation, experiences, and narrative about the clay and the territory. Consequently, the materials gathered and developed along the project until now and later are the inputs for this forthcoming exhibition that, by mixing scientific research with artistic experimentation in a geopoetic approach, aims to inquire about the overexploited or rejected relationship with the soil. So to finish, we will leave you with a fragment of a poem of the artist Rocío Mercado. So thank you very much.
He intentado ser precavida con la recolección de arcillas. He sentido culpa de extraer el material con que trabajo, porque me he dado cuenta que respira y que hace respirar la tierra y los árboles, que la tierra nunca es residuo, sino abono para nuestros bosques con sus fongosas florestas,